What is this? What is this? Whoa, look. Look at. Look at. What is this? Whoa. Whoa. Right? He's watering or chiseling it or something. This guy on a ladder. Amazing. Spray painting it. Right? Or somehow. What is he doing? Amazing. But this guy is just surrounded by. Whoa. The network. The bash hub. The networks and this and wow, it's just so interconnected and wow. All the electrons are just connected everywhere. Wow, this and that and this and that and this and that and this and this and that. Wow. So what is this? It says when did wild wolves become pet dogs? Wow.
So you can find a link to that in the description. You can also come find the show over on Twitter. I am at Trace Dominguez. The show is at TestTube. So let's talk about domestication. When did we become separate from animals? That was the first question that I had when
did we become separate from animals? Whoa. What a question. What a concept. Because what does that even mean? And of course, you're probably going to go and explain it. But separate, what does that mean? Because truly it comes down to your separation in doubt. Consumeth in that self-awareness. Whoa, right? Basing your image on that. So it's not when did you become separate with animals. No. When did you see yourself separate from life? The end. Well, your bash network would tell you that it was when your eyes were opened. And that's why you worship Lucifer, because you say, yes, Lucifer opened my eye, my third eye. Right? What is going on? You see the knowledge of good and evil. And somehow that means you're separate and you're here to bash over, right? You're here just to manipulate life, meaning abuse it to your desire. So surely that is the question, and but of course it has to be about wolves and this and that and this and anything but what's blatantly right in front of you. And all the bash little categories that sometimes light up and then they disappear and this and they lead you to some other bash dimension. And wow, look, the fractal of fractals. Wow.
and my producers and I were sitting down to talk about this. At what point did we start to think of ourselves as
So why don't he bring his producers into the mix? What? We have a conversation to how we're going to make the next show. So this is what we're talking about. And we said, why don't we become separate?
separate from an animal? So thus we could use the animal to get our own food, to help us hunt, to do all of these other things. You know, we're not just another animal, we're somehow better. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, when did that happen?
You're not saying that, but that's the belief, right? That is the worship, that man is somehow better, right? Better, or at least higher conscience, right, than the lower bash animals, apparently, or somehow. But you say, no, it's just somehow our ability to reason and this and that and this and that and build it there, and smashed, right? No. So separation is truly the doubt, the split of you, in, right? In knowledge of good and evil. So you're in doubt, so you can see good and evil and engage. Wow. And you're like, wow, I must trust in myself. And all this bash. No. For every man betrays himself time and time again. Yes. And it doesn't even matter because what is the overall recognition? Yes, life, the true promise. Because you can be at your most miserable, right? And just thinking about blowing your brains out. But wow, life is there with you. And you're like, but it's horrible. And this and no, the trauma and the abuse is horrible. It's the most tremendously sinister act man could do upon himself. Who knew? But then we justify it left, center, up, down, inward, backwards, and now it's okay. And we sit on a boast hog that we call law, right? Man's law. That this and that, and just because it's law says it's wrong, it means it is wrong because everybody knows that, and this and this and that. No, no. For we know we are wrong. And believing this, believing that we are separate, right? So instead of saying, wow, what a stupid thing, he's going to say, wow. And that shows us that this is when this one came first, and that one, and that one. And then all of them just kind of are there, and we're just somehow bashing them. Just because, we're greedy and that and this. Wow, right? Just relentless. Relentless justifications and excuses, all backed by some laptop that says, "Well, this is what so and so institute says, and this is what so and so other field says, and these are the so assumptions of this and that, and therefore, fact. Therefore, fact, meaning therefore, it is, and you can't say it's not. So it is, and you cannot say it's not. For sure, you can just deny it and ignore it, but you're the fool, right? So they inverted. This is a complete inversion, the complete counterfeit, right? A complete bashhood of what life is. But you have engaged fully in the inverted reality, right? And you worship shows like upside down and inside out. Exactly. For truly, it's something that you're living, yet it's somehow outside of you in just a show. And it's just fantasy and this and that and this. And wow, amazing. And of course, you couldn't wait for the next season and this and all the seasons of programming to keep you entrained. All swishing back and forth, bending back. Oh, just love the friction. Oh, yeah. Right? So everyone has their way to unleash, right? The fury, right? The swarm. Or give in to it. But we know it's wrong.
The act of humans taking animals from the wild is domestication. Over time, we make those animals dependent on us, and we adapt them over generations to fit our needs.
So, what does that even mean? That sounds like ritual abuse, right? How do you make somebody become dependent on you, right? Isn't that what counseling tells you? Oh, no. Codependency, this, that, the dependent, independent, this, that, the other, compromise, bash, right? So, what is this? What is he saying?
Like a work animal or a pet. Encyclopedia Britannica puts it this way: the initial stage of human mastery of wild animals and plants is domestication.
Wow, is domestication. So it is manipulation, right? They're mashing you into just being the ultimate alchemist, right? Just boasting in your ability to just manipulate. Wow.
Man has always had a relationship with animals, just as all animals have relationships with each other. But there is evidence that horses were domesticated in 3500 BC.
Okay, so he just jumped from, wow, man has always had a relationship with animals, just as other animals have a relationship with themselves, and this and that and this. And then he goes, but we started bashing the horse in this year, right? I mean, what's going on? So did they not have a relationship before, or did it just happen when they started bashing the horse? What's going on? So did they or did they not have a relationship with animals, just as other animals have a relationship with themselves and this and that? So what is it? He just jumped from that to saying, but we bashed the horse and this and this. So what was so the relationship you had with the horse before was what? Bash? It wasn't good enough? It wasn't serving you how you wanted to be served. Is that what you're saying? Hmm. So then you're like, oh, come here, horse. Just gonna abuse you till you die. And you say, no, no, no. The horse wanted to help. The horse wanted to plow and just do everything for man. And this and that and this and this. Wow, really? Also, like go riding them to go just slaughter themselves while other men ride them and slaughter themselves. So what's going on? That just horses are just love it. Of course. Wow. So what is it? Is it abuse? What is it? Ritual? Yeah, it's ritual. The ritual abuse, right? Somehow then making the animal dependent. You feed it. Put a house over it. This and that and this and this and ba ba ba, and it works for you. Whoa, amazing. So then you cry when other men do it to other men, right? You're like, whoa, no, it's wrong. So when other men do it to other men and just say you work for me, you're dependent on me, right? Then you're like, well, no, 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 that's just the economy, and that's just the industry and innovation and competition and just selling, sell and sell. Really? What are you saying? What are you saying? Because truly, man is doing it to man. Man has domesticated man and said, no, this is life. You're free. No, man has just bashed man, right? Into thinking that now, just because now he can go out and abuse other animals, then that's okay. That man is bashing man. Wow. Wow. No, 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 no. It couldn't be. It's just about wolves and dogs and horses that we just bashed some this year.
And dogs were being kept as pets maybe 30,000 years ago, prior to what we would call history. But there is
30,000.
evidence that we've been eating meat for 1.8 million years.
1.8 million years been eating that meat. 1.8 million. Whoa. Right? And this is this. How many more Harry Potter years do you want to add to it? Huh? Okay. And then what? Dogs were around 30,000 years ago. We had them as pets, you know? We had them around us and this and that. What are you talking about? Okay. So the relationship, right, that you spoke of, right? You said obviously man has always had a relationship with animals, and animals have had a relationship with them, blah blah blah. So the relationship with wolves and dogs, whatever you want to call them in your bash lineage of evolution, but dogs, wolves, who cares, right? For all intents and purposes, wolves. Okay, just the apparent notion of fantastical wild dog, right? The most wild of the king dogs in this. What? So that thing had always a relationship with man. So you're like 30,000 years ago we domesticated the dog, or there's evidence that we had them as pets that far back, even maybe further. Who knows? But now what? So the relationship just changed because we abused the dog. Is that it? What is going on? What is going on? Because truly the separation leads man to just be cruel. Because don't they say you have to dehumanize the enemy so you can go and kill him? Yes. So you have, wow, exactly, you've dehumanized yourself. Dehumanized and just bashed. So now you can go and just bash everything else. You've dehumanized yourself as well as everything around you. I mean, how could it not be? You boast that you care about it and that Gaia this and Gaia that, but no. For truly you believe this, and that's the greatest abuse of it all. So you believe some bash lineage of somehow we bashed animals, but because of other reasons. What is going on? Because they're telling this could be the story of you. And it is. He's telling you, right? You're all domesticated, you're dependent on daddy government and this and that, but don't worry, it's fine. They are righteous men. Are they? Well, surely in the ways of the world. So, what is it that we worship? And you love it. And you say, no, we just need less government and this because the people are the power. Power of what? The power of now? Wow, amazing. No, what is going on? Power of what? What power? The power to just cry and beg and beg and beg? Like a dependent psychopath? You know, a dependent, abused, traumatized individual that has been banned to just worship the abyss. And we'll just sit down and tell you all about it and how it works and look at it. Look, we know all these things.
Which brings us back to that time that we started thinking of ourselves as different from the animals around us.
Oh.
Scientists found a child's skull in Tanzania, and it was
So apparently man didn't see himself as different from the animals, and somehow after 1.8 billion bash, who gives a bash how many Harry Potter years, now all of a sudden, when did we just become separate? Because in evolution, somehow our blast brain just kept shifting and somehow giving us more power and power, and then finally our eyes were opened. And we saw it all. So we were separate, and afraid, and all this and this and this. And so, what are you saying? Exactly. He just wants to make you think in the sense of, whoa, you know, in some higher ape. In some higher ape form, somehow you thought yourself separate. And then just a relentless defiler of just turning on life. I'd say, no, now this is this and da da da, and all for me, and how it's going to just boast me into the bash future somehow. What future, if not as what you worship and what you're bashing in and what you're actually manifesting, right? In the sense of, wow, you think you're manifesting just because you manipulate. Because truly life bringeth forth life, right? Without your hand. Without the influence of you being, but you say, well, I have to feed my, wow, who knew? Who knew it's called enduring life? Endurance, wow, you don't think people know? So they became separate, right, than animals, but then what? They forgot how to eat. They forgot how to, just endure. And all of a sudden now it's about survival and this and this. So they forgot, and then they had to learn it all somehow. Is that it? Right? Because before they were just apparently living, right? According to this guy. And then somehow we became separate, right? What is going on? Or has it been that man is always in this state that you call the flesh, right? Has been smashed. Because now he sees the knowledge of good and evil.
was similar to skulls of people suffering from malnutrition, a low meat diet, which means at the time meat was
low meat diet. So low nutrition means low meat diet. Fact, right? So you look at the most healthiest person. Let's take this person. This person could be anyone, but let's just say a person, right? Is just at the top of. They have top physical, health or whatever, but then, inside they're just void. And not that there's an in and out, and no. They're unfulfilled, enveloped in doubt, separation. So what is that, right? Because without love, it's nothing. Without love, it is nothing. Without love, unconditional, of the Father. Not some bash love that you can get one night out and just bash. No, that's not love. That's lust. And who knew that you'll say, yeah, sure, there's a difference, but heartbreak and this and that. I just want to go out there and just smash as many leatherbacks. I will just bend backwards and swim across the Gulf Stream and let me do it. Amazing. So, what is going on? What is going on?
Was a steady part of our ancestors' diet. And there's evidence that early humans would make and use tools to hunt and kill animals. This was 500,000 years ago. So this is showing already the separation between human and animal.
Human and animal, right? Separation. This is showing there's evidence. Wow, because of skulls. Because of somehow it's malnutrition. Oh, amazing.
And by this time, we'd already started to make these tools and cook meat over fires. And that helped us develop bigger brains and become more and more evolved.
So somehow eating meat gives you bigger and bigger brain. So, I mean, surely that should have been an experiment long ago. Just start feeding chimps or monkeys, right? Just meat. And see what happens. Do a 100, year study. 100 Harry Potter year study of just feeding meat to just the lower apes and see what happens. And you say, no, evolution doesn't work like that, you fool. It takes billions and billions and billions and billions of Harry Potter smash to do it. And this and that and this and that. And somehow it just decided to stop. And we call it some bash name, of course. And this, and we're just slowing it up. It's just we reach this, and you just don't see the evolution, but it's happening. And this, relentlessly. But that's why you're cooking up a story that's going to allow you to believe that you're going to blast through the sun and join your galactic family. And somehow you just have to bash, technologize your way into that because you're so evolving. That's your evolution. What we're like, progress. Surely now we've overgrown that which gave life to us. So now we're out here smashing. Amazing. So what is going on? Right? What is going on? Evidence, right? They want evidence. Evidence shows that this. What evidence? Malnourished skulls that could be for multiple reasons, but somehow now later skulls have nourished skulls and big bash thing. That means that they were eating plenty of meat. And this, that, wow, amazing.
Evolved over time. Watch our episode about fire. It's super awesome.
Whoa,
and we
fire.
used our knowledge of those tools and how our brains were getting bigger and bigger, and we used that knowledge to get meat more easily.
And there's this other bash that says, Graham Hancock, that says, well, yeah, or who cares, a bash, it could be anyone, but that apparently all the fire in the nation was put out in one, one, or who gives a bash, but for some time. And then, in the rebirth and this, they all lit the fire and it had to be lit by the same thing and this and that. Oh, blah, 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 right? So fantastical, ideas, right? Stories. But what? Does man, did man just not know? Just was clueless, right? Man was just clueless up to a point, and then saw all of a sudden he had to just bash and invent fire, or just somehow be illuminated to use it somehow, and this and that. What does that even mean? So apparently there wasn't life before humans, people. There was not life before this Homo sapiens sapiens, because life as we know it comes through our apparent awareness, right? How we perceive it, and we just don't know. And so we have to just relentlessly dig up bones and try and cook up a story. Because life just somehow didn't exist before somehow history, written records. Nope. Just didn't. Who knew what that was and nothing, but somehow life is just what we can say it is about it. Well, based on just what? Little rocks and this and evidence of past people, bones, this and that, and just shape shifting skulls, and somehow you say, wow, it's how we came to be. Amazing! And that and this and this and that and that. Amazing. So clearly those Bash, other apes, right, were just, who knows, just retards, right? In the sense of late for the party, right? They were just late. They were just late, outdated. They didn't know anything. They were just out there so alone and afraid and barely could thrive and this and that, nothing, right? And you say, no, 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 of course. But then somehow, the Neanderthal and this and the Homo habilis and that is the first sign of culture and reverence because they buried their dead. And this and that and this and that, all because we could tell the rubble and they put offerings in it and that what we did, yeah, right? So, what is going on? What is going on? Because surely it somehow fits beautifully with your linear idea of how life and consciousness evolved. No. For surely it's the separation that you're talking about, but you're talking about it in a Bosch way because the separation is not just with animals, it's with life itself.
We didn't want to have to go around and forage for meat. We didn't want to scavenge for meat. You want to just have it. Make it easier on yourself, We're lazy. We are now more dominant over animals than any time in human history. And I like to think when early man identified their supremacy in the animal kingdom has to do with when we started building tools and hunting them and kind of saying, this is our food source.
So tools and what? Killing animals? That's the sign of progress? Wow. Amazing. What does that even mean? What does it even mean? Because what is going on?
Right? Early man respected animals, but they also used them. And you can see this through early human art. This is when our reliance on animals really started. And it's
so just the caveman paintings show, that we used them, but we respected them. And that. What are you saying? What are you saying? Are you talking about that relationship between humans and animals that always has existed, but somehow now you have shapeshifted and manipulated so that what you call relationship with them now is somehow in your favor? And this and this and that and that and this and this. What is going on?
as soon as we became superior to animals, we didn't just eat them and then leave them for nature. We started using the pieces of animals for other things. Bones became parts of society. We used them for tools. We used them to sew clothing with bone needles. We even were still using bone combs and things into the 19th century. And we also...
Bone combs. Wow. Bone combs. Yes. Who knew? Right? And you say, well, it's just so magical. All the indigenous population use, right? What, bones? So all of them were worshippers of death? Is that what you're saying? Right? Because just because they left false idols behind, what does that even mean? Just because you found and dug up relentless false idols and this and this and that and that and this and this and that. You somehow that what does it even mean? You're saying, oh no, it's just amazing culture and this, whoa, their mythology and wow, this, that, the other, that. Wow, what is going on? Could it be that these apparent so-called cultures were worshipping in their own image? Yes. Just as you are now. But just because you don't wear feathers in your hair anymore or paint your face relentlessly or just have piercings at all parts of your body and this and that, which some people do, but this is just because what? It's the same thing, right? Man is doing the same thing that the Bash cultures of times past were apparently doing. Because surely anyone who, say there was a, say there was a, say there was a time of living, you know, a moment, just life, when there was worship of the Father, the unconditional love, yes, and rejoice of the way. So it's almost like the lost civilization in the sense of you don't you negate that there was suffering, right, because of idol worship, and then the promise fulfilleth, it is finished, and man reigned for 1,000 years in worship of Christ. Who knew? And now somehow erase that, and then just connect it to the same Bashua that used to be, as in as the days of Noah, so are the ages of man, right? So exactly, the ages of man, the age of man. What is it? Man's will upon the earth through his bashhood manipulation, separate from life. As this bash is trying to explain how it all happened.
So we're using the animal pelts as clothing for ourselves to advance our own ability to survive in hostile environments. So let's fast forward to our next relationship with animals. We didn't just go and hunt them and then use their pelts and their bones and all of their pieces. We started taking them out of the wild, where it was very unpredictable, and started bringing them closer to ourselves so we could breed them and do what we wanted to do with them ultimately, which is not have to go find them in the woods and put them near.
So isn't that exactly what man was doing in the age of Noah, in the days of Noah? Just relentlessly hybridizing, mixing themselves, just creating all sorts of abominable acts and ritualizing the abuse of the flesh. Who knew? Just abusing, right? Because that's the state of what you have believed it is. So therefore you just must go out there and survive, everyone. Survive the harsh conditions, because all of a sudden we don't know. We don't know what life was and is, and therefore we just have to go out there and build shelters and bash bones together and wear them and use them for tools and this and this. And somehow it's because we're separate now. No. Wow, you don't think man? The notion of agriculture, right, is worshipped. Oh, it started 10,000 years ago, and this and this, wow. And it allowed man to build cities and this and this and this and that, right? So agriculture, so man knew not what food was. Man knew not what life was at all before agriculture came around. So somehow he was just lost, just somehow with his head guillotined off, but somehow still walking around and trying to cook up a way to just feed himself or be more smart with it, Well, they're like, wow, a seed makes this. Whoa, I'll plant 100 of them and have this much. Right? So people didn't know, anything before that, and apparently somehow it made things better. Right? Or what is going on? Surely the relationship that man has always had with plants and animals is surely been there from the beginning. So man knew. So all of a sudden they said that. Why do we think that? Wow, somehow we didn't know and now we know, and our culture changed everything. So we were the relentless permaculturists, but now, wow, look at how we farm today and this and the where. Wow, people don't even know what compost is and this and that and they're fascinated when they say, wow, it works and this and that. That's just one little thing, but bash, because who knew that they're all just trying to be the permaculturist again. But what does that mean? What do you have when you when that is taken, for example? What is it? Are you What remains, right? What is the certainty? No, right? We're filled with uncertainty, and that's why we're just smashing. And then just blaming others. For truly, we will not point a finger at us and say, well, what am I doing? Because God knows your heart, and you can hide from Him in your denial of the Father and in your own boast of your own creation of what you say your life is. Yet, the Father knows your heart, yes. And of course, always has open arms, yet you're proud. Everyone is too proud to admit that they're wrong in denying the Father. For draw near and the Father draws near. Abandon your pride. Humble yourself. For who knew that the Creator knows your heart? And if, of course, the doubt, the splitteth, awareness is what keeps you from the Father. Have certainty that He is real. Have certainty that all living manifestation is proof of it, whether you consider it good or evil. And not to say that there's no difference, but you see it. But you're not the synthesis. You're not here to fuse it and balance it in this. No. You're here to endure life, seeing knowledge of good and evil, for surely it is death. So what does a man worship? And what is his accuracy in life? And not just settling down per se for just being precise, of shooting blanks in the dark.
By. We were making them work for us instead of against us. Isn't it easier to go get a pig, guide it to the slaughterhouse, and use its parts and its meats rather than chase and hunt down a wild boar? The first animals to be domesticated.
He's like, isn't it easy just to just pack them and just send them to the slaughterhouse, then he'll go after chase it? Well, I mean, is that even reasonable, logical? So what does it entail to go hunt a hog, a wild boar, and this in the wild? Well, it means a different type of relation, right? For surely the type of relation that just sends pigs to the slaughterhouse is separate, in the sense of you have totally separated man from the relation. And not that it's the relation just with the hog, no. The relation of what it is that, wow, leads to that, or what is involved in that. Yes, worship. So what is it that we do, right? Sure, we eat meat, we eat plants, okay? We drink water, we drink all sorts of things. We drink ethers and all chemicals that would distort us and make us shapeshift us into just versions of nightmares that we live day in, day out. But it's just so fantastical into you and your exactly temptation, and we all are exposed to it. Okay, so it's not that, well, there's it's just too hard. No, we're all exposed to it. So what do we deny? Well, we certainly do not deny our flesh, do we? And of course, we're in denial of the Creator, for we surely don't want to give up. The rewards of the false promise, right? The knowledge of good and evil saith, wow, you're here to synthesize it all and just make up the story of what life is.
We're not horses and we're not pigs and, we're not any of those, but we're in fact probably dogs. No one really knows for sure. One scientist claims that a snail was technically the first domesticated animal. One guy, but most archaeologists and scientists...
He's like, oh, one guy, the snail, right? The snail, domesticated. So hilarious, right? It's almost like a joke. Of course it is. Look, he's laughing, he couldn't wait. But the snail, right? Because the snail, wow, it's so slow. Just, wow, you could probably just, who cares? And you could probably eat it too. And there's,
agree that it was probably the dog, the domesticated dog, which came from, you probably already know, the wolf. And some scientists were using something called the molecular clock to determine how old domesticated dogs actually are, what point in their genetic history that they split from the wolf. So think of it this way. Take the DNA of a wolf, take the DNA of a dog, and compare the two. They're very different. They have a number of different mutations. So we look at those mutations, and then we go back a couple generations.
Mutations, you mean encoding, don't you bash? Because isn't DNA coding? To you, it's the code of, the code of life, and this and this. Because surely it dictates everything about the flesh, according to you. So, they're not mutations, they're coding. So, who knew that a coding for a dog would be something, and a coding for a wolf would be another? Whoa. But somehow, they came from that one. And who knows what ancient wolves were, because, well, we now have today is the wolf, and there's evidence of Siberian this, and giant dogs and this. Is there? What about, how did they shapeshift from wolf to dog? And you say, well, geographical location, what the dogs were used for, and work. Because, what is this? Look. Who cares? Just bash, By analyzing the DNA of two prehistoric dogs from Germany, an international research team has determined that their genomes were the probable ancestors of modern European dogs. So, probable, right? Because the missing link, right? They need a missing link, just like Lucy. So, apparently, the two ancient dogs are the missing link. Whoa. The findings suggest a single domestication event of modern dogs from a population of gray wolves that occurred between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago. Amazing. Right? The findings suggest a single domestication event of modern dogs. One event where they just went bash, hybridize this one, that, just who knows what they did. But of course, you call it genetic manipulation and this and this. So if it's genetic manipulation, and apparently DNA is the coding, right, to your form, your flesh. So, manipulation of genetics. What is it? Exactly, manipulation of life. So, is this what they're saying happened? Manipulation of happened in a single domestication event. of modern dogs from a population of gray wolves, and it happened between approximately, could be that to that, difference of 20,000 years, give or take, and this and that. Amazing. Dogs were the first animal to be domesticated by humans, apparently to this article. The oldest dog fossils that can be clearly distinguished from wolves are from the region of what is now Germany, from around 15,000 years ago. However, the archaeological record is ambiguous, with claims of ancient domesticated dogs' bones as far east as Siberia. Recent analysis of genetic data from modern dogs adds to mystery, with some scientists suggesting many areas of Europe, Central Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East as possible origins of dog domestication. In 2016, research by scientists using emerging paleogenomics techniques proved effective for sequencing the genome of a 5,000-year-old ancient dog from Ireland. The results of the study led the research team to suggest dogs were domesticated not once, but twice from Europe and Asia. Is that what they're saying? The team hypothesized that an indigenous dog population domesticated in Europe was replaced by incoming migrants domesticated independently of East. Sometimes, so they just bashed and they mix and this and that. That gave rise to all the different breeds. Is that what they're saying? Contrary to the results of this previous analysis, we found that our ancient dogs from the same time period were very similar to modern European dogs, including the majority of breed dogs people keep as pets. Wow, this suggests that there was no mass Neolithic replacement that occurred on the continent and that there was likely only a single domestication event for the dogs observed in the fossil record from the Stone Age, and that we also see and live with today. So somehow the dogs have been around for who knows how long, but they're trying to find how they originally separated from wolf. Apparently. Just because the wolf looks like a dog. Amazing. And you say, yes, it's a canine, it's a canine, it's a canis, it's a canis, and this and that, and this is scientific family tree, and this. And who gives a bash? Oh, amazing. And same with birds. What are birds? Yeah, well, you have the one old bird that links them all. You just gotta find it. The missing link. Oh, there you have it. Oh, amazing. Birds. Who knew? And all this and that and that. So is the wolf the or is the eagle the wolf of the sky? Right? The wild bird, the original bird. The eagle, right? The first bird, everything still came from it. Amazing. Right. Who gives a bash? Let's see. What does this bash say about it? Oh, who knew? Behavioral evidence. Convergent evolution is when distantly related species independently evolve similar solutions to the same problem. Oh, right? And that's what you worship. Pyramids, pyramids, oh, convergent evolution. Yay. For example, fish, penguins, and dolphins have each separately evolved flippers as a solution to the problem of moving through the water. Well, it couldn't be that. Well, the thing that you call DNA is the coding. So there's a coding, and everything within in the flesh in the coding. Well, it's just somehow fine tuned for its environment, what it does, this and that, everything. Who knew? But it's just how it somehow it just came from little versions of this, but somehow they got bigger. They just fought relentlessly. Were more fit and this and that and that. Wow, amazing. Hmm. So it's almost like life is just working out. It's in the relentless gym, just getting fitter, just fitness, just getting jacked, right? Right? No. What has been found between dogs and humans is something less frequently domestic demonstrated: psychological convergence. Dogs have independently evolved to be cognitively more similar to humans than we are to our closest genetic relatives, to apes, right? Or whatever bash. Dogs have evolved specialized skills for reading human social and communicate behavior. These skills seem more flexible and possible more human-like than those of other animals closely related to humans phylogenetically, such as chimpanzees, bonobos, and other great apes. This raises the possibility that convergent evolution has occurred. Both Canis familiaris and Homo sapiens might have evolved some similar, although obviously not identical, social communicative skills, in both cases adapted for certain kinds of social and communicative interactions with human beings. So somehow the dog is just amazing like the human. Is that what they're saying? Somehow you are a dog. And this and that and this and this and that and that and this and this and this and that and that. Wow, what is going on? I mean, you go to a place where there's just street dogs and they have packs. They're packs, right? I mean, and fine, you say, well, yeah, I'll use the pack and just use one of them for my own, the this and this. Well, so somehow they can be in a home, but they can also smash in a pack. So what does it mean? So out of the relentless street dogs that are out there just, bashing, who cares, right? But somehow you can also have them as pets. So what does that even mean? Right? I mean, what is this apparent communication behavioral, right? Because I'm sure with whatever bash animal you domesticate, right, or have as a pet, it will have a, it who knew that it sees you and it and so just because a dog might have, what we interpret as like an emotional response and this and that, or like, it reads our behavior, right, and this and wow, they smell us and this, they smell fear and all what. So I mean, this apparent connection, right? It's almost like, what are you trying to prove? That somehow you're the relentless, wow, the wolf and dog and man, the wolf man, exactly. You want to identify, right, as an animal, and you've chosen the dog to do that with. And you say, no, I love horses. I'm a horse purple and people and this and that. Nothing. Right? For what is it that, animals, that what we call animals revealeth. And surely if we have dogs in our home, they revealeth. And usually it has to do with our own behavior. And that's why you say, oh, dogs, embody their owners and this and this. And, wow, who knew? In the sense of, well, they relate, right? And they will define this and this and this and that. And that's why you have to practice and discipline and give them relentless treats and this and this and that. And somehow it's just your best friend. Is it? Surely they reveal something about the life that you're abusing. Yes. And fine. Of course, dogs are amazing. But don't be delusional about what it is that you think you're living. Because surely you're the dog. Okay? You have taken the dog bash mentality, right? And you're like, oh, I'm just a dog. I'm just a bitch. I'm just a dog. I'm just a bitch. Right? You're just relentless dogs. Why are you all dogs? Right? What does that even mean? Right? I didn't that other bash say that we were separate from dogs apparently? But somehow, no, now we're just dogs, and we bash with dogs, and now some people even just copulate with dogs because, wow, they're just their partner for life, and this, no. Right? So what is going on? Or if you look at dogs, wolves, right? If there was a relation with man and wolf, what was it, right? To hunt, protection, what? Who knows? But somehow it's just there. And that, this, and the other. But what is it? For surely all animals engage with life in life. But you truly see that as an excuse to behave like an animal. Who knew? So you've dehumanized yourself, and that's why you do all these relentless cooking up of something. Wow, so they have to. Wow, this article is huge, right? Just relentless. Look at it. Wow. Early dog specimens. Wow. They have a 40,000-year-old, right? Specimen. Wow. Two origins, right? From, see, wow, Asia, but at least in Europe, because the Victorian era development of modern dog breeds use little all of the ancient lineages. Ancient lineages of dogs. Just like the dogs in the hieroglyphs, right? And they have dog heads, dog gods, this and that, Anubis. What is going on? Wow, look at the gray wolf. Divergence and timing. Wow. So this is the missing link. Wolf dog ancestor. New world clad. New world clad. Old world clad. Whoa. Asia, Middle East, Europe, dog, dingo, bazenji. Mexico, just the one. North America, Hokkaido. Wow. Morphological, right? Divergence. The question of when and where dogs were first domesticated have taxed geneticists and archaeologists for decades. Who knew? Who knew? Just for decades, right? Because somehow we were just clueless. Somehow we didn't know anything, and now, whoa, we know. And now it's confusing to us, and we're like relentlessly smashing and trying to just figure it all. Identifying the earliest dogs is difficult because the key morphological characters that are used by zooarchaeologists to differentiate domestic dogs from their wild wolf ancestors, size and position of teeth, dental pathologies, and size and proportion of cranial and postcranial elements were not yet fixed during the initial phases of the domestication process. Wow. Wow. So even the things that they use to, differentiate were not fixed. Is that what you're saying? The range of natural variation among these characters that may have existed in ancient wolf populations and the time it took for these traits to appear in dogs are unknown. Exactly. Unknown. Can be that life brings forth life. And all the vast intricacies and all the diversities that you could ever come to see and differentiate. Wow, it's just, wow, relentless. But now you call it names and this and time and I don't know, wow. But somehow it's uncertain and just unknown, but somehow it's so known and fact. And somehow it's just amazing. right? Because you can find bones and then attach a story to it. Whoa, who knew? And then just link them all together. Just trace the bones, everyone. Trace the bones. The origin of the blah blah blah, blah evolution and divergence from the wolf, its domestication, and its development into dog types and dog breeds. The dog is a member of the genus Canis, which form part of the wolf-like canids, and was the first species and the only large carnivore to have been domesticated. The dog and the extant gray wolf are sister taxa, as modern wolves are not closely related to the population of wolves that was first domesticated. Who knew? So the wolf today is not related to the first wolf from which the dogs were apparently domesticated from, right? So how do they know it was a wolf then? What is it? Oh, it's just because the bone structure that was just the wild wolf. It was wild squared. It was wild. No, let's just go wild to the 33rd power. That's how wild it was, right? Wow, wild, right? That genetic divergence between dogs and wolves occurred between. Wow, of course. The time span represents the upper time limit for the commencement of domestication because it is the same time of divergence and not the time of domestication, which occurred later. Convergence. The domestication of animals commenced over 15,000 years ago, beginning with the gray wolf, Canis lupus, by nomadic hunter-gatherers. The archaeological record and genetic analysis show the remains of the bone obiscus dog, buried beside humans 14,200 years ago, to be the first undisputed dog, with disputed remains occurring 36,000 years ago. It was not until 11,000 years ago that people living in the Near East entered into relationship with wild populations of ockers, boar, sheep, and goats. Whoa. Well, of course, who knew all these animals were around and you had a relationship with them? But then somehow you just bashed and bashed and bashed, and now you're using them somehow for just and call it domestication. What is that? No. What is going on? Whether the domestication of the dog took place remains debated, with the most plausible proposals spanning Western Europe, Central Asia, and East Asia. There has been made more complicated by the recent proposal that an initial wolf population split into East and West Eurasian groups. These two groups, before going extinct, were domesticated independently into two distinct dog populations between 14,000 and 6,400 years ago. The Western Eurasian dog population was gradually and partially replaced by East Asian dogs introduced by humans at least 6,400 years ago. This proposal is also debated. So just debates, and Groundhog Day. You guessed it. But all while keep giving you the illusion that all this is a fact. All of this is fact. When you can just see and say, "Wow, okay, fine." All these dogs are different, right? So why do you have to make it some link, right? Why is there a missing link? No, the missing link is your recognition and union with Christ. That's the missing link. But no, it's just relentless links to you, right? And it couldn't be that perhaps dogs are the could they be, a result of just the ancient dogs? What is going on? What are the ancient dogs? Oh, who knows? But just because you call them names and this and that and this and this, well, okay, fine. And you use them for working and you bred them and this and that, and all of a sudden you can mix them and then create a new breed and this, that. No. Manipulation. But surely there a dog what lives. Who knew? and you've categorized all their behaviors and this and that, and their social ability, or their family dog, or they're just a wild dog, or this, right? You say, well, of course, because they've been bred to be those specific things, and just pop 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 pop. Right. So somehow you made it all happen. Amazing. And somehow they're on par with your own convergent, psychological convergent evolution, convergent psychology, right? And somehow it's just so fine tuned. What does that even mean? Mm. So if you did it to the dog, right? If you relentlessly bred them and just cooked up their genes and just pop pop pop, so why do you think you wouldn't be doing that to yourselves? Exactly, you are. You are, and you deny it. You say no, no, no. It's not. It's not eugenics. No, 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 no. Well, it's just we're trying to rid of disease and this and this and that and this and this, and we're just creating just bash versions, right, of this and that. Don't worry. You have 23% chance of being a dog. Oh, right, because what is this? 400 breeds in total, including 23 distinct clades. Wow. And of course, a little. Wow, look at this graph. It's amazing. Look at all the squiggly lines of ancestry. Whoa. Right? All coming from this bash one. Wow, amazing. Right, 14. All part of the family. Oh. Turns out dogs were bred into certain types of clades. Bred. So they just mixed the relentless original wolf relentlessly and hoped that it would produce something different from it. Or the two breeds, right? The theory that there was the divergence, and then they came back together, and then they just bred and diversified even more, and this and this and that, and then the European wolf was just wiped out by the new domestic dog, and this and this, and well, what's going on, right? Look, well, so apparently man bred them all to just look like this, or were they already breeding small dogs with big ones and little ones with little ones, that one, what is going on? You say, well, I don't know, but somehow, if you put this one together with this one, you get something weird. Who knew? So, just because they were doing it to dogs, right? I mean, 15,000 years ago, or how many bash years you want to say that, people were doing this stuff. But if they were doing it to dogs, you don't think that they were doing it to you? No, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. It's just somehow you were using animals because we were separate, right? So if you're already separate, then you've already dehumanized yourself. You're beating the life out of you, and use it to smash other life, right? So you would do it to yourself, right, and to others. Yes. What is this?
Tens of thousands of years ago, early humans formed an unlikely partnership with another animal, the grey wolf. Over time, the wolves changed in body and temperament. Their skulls, teeth, and paws shrank. Their
Wow.
ears flopped.
So they just shapeshifted. Wow, amazing.
They gained a docile disposition, becoming both less frightening and less fearful. They turned into dogs. Scientists agree that all dogs descend from wild ancestral wolves, but they disagree as to when, where, and how that happened. Gregor Larson from the University of Oxford has been trying to get some firm answers. Already, he and his team have yielded a surprising discovery.
Oh, exactly. Cheap bone worship. Just death worship. So who knew that, yes, exposed to the knowledge of good and evil is surely is death, right? So just because it's that, now you just worship death. When you deny the life. But all because you can just somehow describe death. And then trace it, right? You used bones to somehow trace the life that you're living. You're like, wow, this life is amazing, but how did, where, this, that, the word exactly lost. And just because you can extract things from bones and put them to gels and this and say, yo, look at this gene, whoa, it's so similar to that one. So there must be related.
I think dogs were domesticated.
Or like it came from this. No, what is going on?
Not once, but twice. So here's the full story.
Wow, so it evolved twice. Wow, so he's like, okay, so this is the story, guys. 2 wolves. One good, one evil.
Larson sees it. Many thousands of years ago, somewhere in Western Eurasia, humans domesticated grey wolves. And the same thing happened independently, far away.
So in ancient Eurasia, right? What do you say? Oh, ancient Western. Wow. So they were bred, and they already had breeds, and then ancient Eastern, they had the other breed. Where? Wow.
In the east. Around the Bronze Age, some of the ancient eastern dogs migrated west alongside their human partners. And along their travels, these migrants encountered the indigenous ancient western dogs. They mated with them, doggy style, presumably.
Oh, bash, right? And so, right, the old world meets the new world, and they just bash, got together and just made some more diversity.
And effectively replaced them. So today's Western dogs trace most of their ancestry to the ancient Eastern migrants. Less than 10% comes from those ancient Western dogs which have since gone extinct.
So all the bash Western dogs died. Replaced by the East. So what is going on exactly? What happened? So just assimilation, right? I mean, isn't that what armies did? The kingdoms, right? Prima notte or whatever, they would go in and bash and just copulate with the wife on the wedding night and just bash and probably birth her, give her a child, and that's how they wanted to just breed them out. Because they're like, no, if we can't kill them, we'll just breed them out, replace them with our own seed. And this and that, and this and that, right? So eugenics all along, right? Eugenics, but you cry and you say, no, we don't do that anymore. We've abandoned those ways. And wow, lost.
Other dog genetics experts think that there are other possible explanations, but Larson adds that his gene-focused peers are ignoring one crucial line of evidence: bones. If dogs originated just once, there should be a neat gradient of fossils, with the oldest ones at the centre of domestication and the youngest ones far away from it. But that's not what we have. So we now have a new origin story for dogs.
Well, so it doesn't match the data, so now they have to cook up another one.
And this matters because dogs were the first species that we domesticated. They came before crops, before livestock. They heralded a change.
Wow.
In our relationship to the natural world.
And that was it? Whoa. They co-evolved with us and just hug me when I sleep. Right. What is going on? Could it be that they've chosen the dog I mean, yes, you can't deny how well, they're agile, they're smart, they're intelligent, whatever you want to say about dogs. But who knew that? I mean, you would choose that animal, and boast about how, wow, it's the best thing ever. The relationship with man and dog is just uncanny, this and this, blah, blah, unmatched. A dog, right? Life brings forth life, and wow, yes, who knew that life is truly amazing, the true promise. But choosing, the narrative has chosen dogs to be worshipped. Why? Exactly, you have a dog brain. You just bash dog brain, dog brain. Stay in that state, dog brain, dog brain. I am a dog, so therefore I go and kill or be killed, and this and this. Because I'm a dog brain. I have a dog brain, don't you know? All right, or the relentless. Who cares? Libertine. You're out there. Oh, I'm just a dog. I have needs. This, the other. I'm just a dog. Oh, I'm just a dog. I'm fine. I'm just a dog. I just go and just satisfy myself like a dog and this and this. I go even return to my vomit as well and lick people's buttholes and this and I do it all because I'm just a dog. No. You are separate. And going back to what this other Vash was saying,
with maybe some DNA that we found in history, something like that. We'll look at that DNA. Then we'll look at DNA even further back and further back. The molecular clock is a way to trace that species and see where the two split off from each other. Basically, they're looking for changes in their gene sequence and finding the spot where if you go back and back and back and back and back, the things get closer together, mutations lessen, and you see that one point where a mutation split them off from each other. So separating from species, that's just...
Mutations make you splitteth. And you say, well, only mutations that, are more favorable in your environment. Well, so why all of a sudden the environment just shapeshifted and it was just amazing for all these diversity of dogs to just appear? Oh, yeah, because it's just environment and need and this and that. And it just happened.
Just one step in this process. Being domesticated, that's a completely different thing. We do know that dogs originated from ancient wolves, and for a long time people thought that started 15,000 years ago. The oldest known dog fossil was about 14,000 years old. But scientists, based on molecular clock DNA evidence, think that it may have happened even further back, almost twice as far at 30,000 years ago. Based on DNA evidence, some scientists look at the shape of the skulls of the dogs, and they look at how the wolf became domesticated and its physical aspects and how that changed over time. Possibly it could have even been 33,000 years ago. Today, if you look at a dog and you look at a wolf, they don't just look different on the outside. They have different skeletal structures. There's DNA differences, but there are links.
Well, he's like, but there are a link. Right? So just because apes look like us and somehow they're our daddy, but and somehow we our gene or they're 90, not who knows, are they 97% right in your genome and percent? Right? Isn't some other bash thing 97 too? Why do people just lose their mind about apes and exactly. Just confusion. So who knew that you could clearly see a wolf and a dog and they have completely different skeletal structure, completely different DNA. Wow. But somehow there's a link, guys.
Between, say, Siberian huskies and the Siberian wolf. Another study compared the ancient skulls of wolves to modern dogs and coyote skulls, and they think that it may have happened between 18,000 and 32,000 years ago. So when it happened isn't exactly known, nor is it particularly important for our purpose.
Also, why is it that wolves kill dogs? What is going on? Why do they kill dogs if they're supposed to be the same thing? Well, because they're wild.
But currently scientists think that if the DNA evidence points to a certain area of around 30,000 years and the skull evidence is about that, that's a pretty good place to start. I think more interestingly, there are a couple of different stories of how those ancient wolves became domestic dogs. Originally, we thought that man had gone out and taken a wolf pup and raised it as his own. And over time that wolf had pups and they became more domesticated because the men would raise them, and then so on down the line. But that's not really the agreed upon theory anymore. It makes us seem really awesome, but it's not particularly scientifically supported. Many think that wolves likely domesticated themselves. See, ancient men started living in smaller groups. They perfected the art of hunting. They had tools.
So it was a wolf that was out there, and then all the cities started popping out, and then the wolves just shapeshifted it so that they could come into the city.
And they could go out and get food. And they didn't need every single little piece of that food the way that they maybe had hundreds of thousands of years ago. So wolves would hang around these human camps in order to eat the scraps. They would scavenge human trash because it was a lot easier than going out and hunting for themselves. You can see evidence of this in animals all across modern society. Seagulls don't necessarily live by the sea. They seem to live in the parking lots of various big box stores. Early dogs...
What bash? So apparently early dogs were just so hungry, and they were just like, I'm too lazy to hunt. I'll just go and bash, into the city. I know a good taco place.
We're basically like...
But he's like, oh, but first I need to shapeshift. Okay, so that I'm smaller, I look cuter, so now I'll just get relentless tacos. Amazing.
That. They started hanging out places that they knew they could get food easily. And over time, wolves became more and more used to humans just being around.
So laziness made you a dog. So the wolves relentlessly became more and more lazy, and then they just shapeshifted into all sorts of, kinds of dogs, and just somehow bonded a man because he was in somehow a camp. Wow, that somehow is better than the story of taking a baby wolf and, bashing it. So somehow this other story is way better. Wow.
They learned to get food not from the wild, not from the hunt, but just from these humans nearby. And
wow, so who knew you're describing people? You're describing people. You're describing how now they just don't even know what food is.
Generation after generation of that, eventually they learned to work with the humans, eventually learning to help them locate animals, to hunt and kill, because it was a benefit to both of them.
So apparently dogs became lazy, or wolves became lazy and hung around and just domesticated themselves. But then they led man into the hunt. So somehow they got lazy, but then they're like, okay, let's go hunt again. Wow, what a shame. What is going on?
Or protecting the camp from other dangerous animals, and also by that way protecting their own food source. So thinking about it that way, which wolves...
So a food source, a wolf leads man into the hunt, right? So why would... No, a wolf knows how to find food, right? So why you say its food source isn't man? For a wolf can eat, right? But it just got lazy. But so now it thinks that man is its source, and now he's also gonna still lead him out to the hunt and track animals. But then he'll come back because he just forgot he knew how to track. Wow.
Do you think then became the dogs that we have today? Likely the ones that were the least aggressive and the friendliest towards the humans in the camp, not the ones that were aggressive because we would have never taken them in. Instead, the friendly ones got more food. They were the ones who had an advantage now. Man, as hunters, and people who don't like to be eaten, would then be nice to those wolves, and it would end up producing more and more friends.
So they just took a chance, right? Humans just took a chance and be like, oh, you're the friendly one. And then the wolf just devastates the camp, right? What is going on? Oh, so they only took in the friendly wolves, and somehow they just evolved to be friendly dogs, and this and this and this. Wow.
Friendly
all
wolves.
Based on, taking a chance, right? Taking a chance on relentless dogs that would just shapeshifted over time.
Over time, the dog domesticated itself with our help. as
Wow.
they would breed and we would feed, they would become more and more like the dogs that we have today. And of
Really?
course,
So just a relentless wolf came and surrounded the camp of the people, and just only the friendly one was allowed in, and so apparently just all the friendly wolves were allowed in, and then they were domesticated into all the types of dogs that we see today. Really? From that one wolf? So how can that one wolf, and that's why you need to have a two theory, two wolves, two population, right? Two genetic pools and this and that and that. And now you join them and then you say that's how the diversity comes. No. What is going on?
of course, all of these are guesses, they're theories, hypotheses. No one really knows for sure, but it does seem to make sense and it's kind of fun to think about. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's more...
So this guy didn't say anything. He's like, everything I just said is all just theory. It's a dark. It's just swing. You're just swinging for that piñata and hope for the best. But you're so spun around and you're blindfolded and you're just so you're just so filled in pride because you want to just smash so hard. So he's saying, well, this is all just hearsay, but it's fun to think about and just, who knew?
we grabbed an animal out of the wild and raised it as our own, or are you on board with the dogs sort of did this themselves? Let us know down in the comments. Make sure you come back tomorrow for more Test Tube Plus, because tomorrow we're going to talk about...
Bash, because again, did the dogs do it themselves or did we do it to the dog? So just again, the belief in manipulation, yes. Crushing you into just saying, yeah, of course, we're the master manipulator. And so just go out there and cook out a life for yourself and hopefully not piss off everyone. And just try to be the nice one. Try to be the nice one and just fit in and just get the scraps. Just get the scraps and just be nice. And just be nice and somehow you'll evolve into all the bash little breeds that you think you are. Wow, what a shame. What a shame. For truly, the wolf was always the wolf, right? And perhaps the belief in thinking that you're a dog leads you to just bash yourself into an apparition that you won't even recognize, and you'd still be a guess in the dark as far as what it is. Because you cannot accept life for what it is. No, you have to bash and smash in your own way, in your own doctrine, to saith as thou you wilt. Yes.